TechVibe is brought to you every Saturday afternoon through the generous support of Pittsburgh International Airport at flypittsburgh.com, Buchanan Ingersoll and Rooney at BIPC.com, Chorus Call at choruscall.com, C Leveled at c-leveled.com. Now, back to more TechVibe Radio with the Pittsburgh Technology Council's Audrey Russo and Jonathan Kirsting.
Hey there, this is Audrey, and we're back.
We are back, winding up the show, our final segment. And we got a great guest here. I'll tell you what, I came across this guy at our Made in PA Expo.
You came across him? Was he sitting
back
in
the
a corner?
Sitting in the corner. No, he wasn't sitting in the corner. He had a booth there, man. He was doing cool stuff, and I was like, we got to talk to you. And I was impressed. We have Nick from PiMios. And I think I said it correctly.
You did.
I did, because I once I could say PiMios. And that would sound like some kind of like gum or mints or something like that.
It sounds a little wussy when you say it like that.
Exactly. PiMios sounds like it's Greek.
It's way more powerful when you get the
powerful.
hard. Yeah.
So, what does it stand for?
It stands for Propel Innovation, Make It Open Source.
Make it open source.
So your goal is to do what?
We're building an open source hardware community. And the goal, the long-term goal, is to bridge the gap between this maker-hacker community and education and industry. So you have basically this big talent pool of hobbyists and hackers, like people like me, many of them gainfully employed who have corporate desk jobs and go home and work on this cool stuff in their garages or their parents' basement or whatever your living situation is. And they build this really cool stuff. So there's this talent pool. How do you access all these people? I mean, it seems like a lot of this is going to waste because people do this stuff for fun, but it's really significant technology. So how?
It's hard work.
Yeah. How do you take advantage of that? How do you take advantage of this brain power that exists and it's scattered all over the place? And I'm trying to organize it and make it sophisticated enough for industry to access it and use it for innovation.
So give us an example. Someone listening from industry. Why would they reach out to you?
A company like GE, what they do is they have a basic industry problem, and they outsource these problems to communities like mine. Mine's unique with the maker-hacker aspect. Many other communities exist for engineers. But GE will outsource a problem and say, we want this problem solved. Our engineers aren't going to work on this. We have our internal silo of engineers, our highly paid, highly skilled engineers that we're going to waste a couple $1 million on. But it's a basic, stupid problem that we have. Let's outsource it. And we'll put a bounty on it. We'll say
a bounty.
We'll say $10,000 to the winning solution. So now you have crowdsourced innovation, something that's an inverted model of Kickstarter.
Very interesting stuff.
So instead of, if I worked at one of these companies and I wanted a problem solved, I might go to a company who does this kind of work, right?
And a company like that has their own internal, siloed, highly paid engineers. And they might be able to do it for a lesser cost than, my internal engineers because this is all they do. But
will you get the best solution?
Maybe, maybe not. Yeah. You might have 30 or 40 engineers dedicated to this problem, whereas when you outsource it to a community of freelance people, you now have 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 eyes on a single problem.
I think you referred to it as an army when I first met
army.
you. That's when you got my attention. Have you an army of engineers.
Have you had an example that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I met with GE 2 weeks ago, and they're very interested in our community. We have, like I said, the unique aspect of the maker hackers, which is something that's relatively new as of 2005. Engineers have been around since, the Industrial Revolution. I mean, people like me, we're boring. I mean, I want, the people.
Oh, yes. You're not boring.
As soon as you came out, engineer.
Exactly. I mean, I want the people who they want to do the wild things that they can't do at work, that, their hands are tied at work and they want to do this.
So you're going to make them work more.
Exactly.
But for them, it's not work. It's their love because all they want to do is find solutions.
Well, they're having an impact.
I mean, corporate engineers like me, we go to work for a paycheck, and we spend that paycheck on this cool stuff that we do at home in our basements. But wouldn't it be awesome if we could make money doing that cool stuff in our basements?
And plus, you get all these different eyes on the problem.
Different perspectives, different ways of approaching it.
So do you think these big companies will be open because of their IP?
I get that question a lot, and there's many different ways of handling it, and the best way that we found is dynamically. Based on the company's need, we can, close it off if they want. But many of the problems that they have are not proprietary problems, and they're not going to waste their internal engineers' time to solve those problems. So if you have just some basic stupid problem, like the shape of an object on your airplane that can be built cheaper, but your engineers are worried about making the engine more efficient. They're worried about making sure the plane doesn't explode, So outsource a basic problem like that instead of wasting your highly paid, highly skilled engineers' time and effort on making a part cheaper. So outsource it to
basically save money and also get a very unique solution as well.
Exactly.
Too, because you're using the power of a whole mass of people that can solve that problem in a bunch of different ways.
Well, it's really a whole new way to think about innovation, particularly for these big corporations who have had their R&D shrunk over time, and then they still know that they have things that are sitting on the shelf that they haven't, jump-started or had anyone look at. And then on top of that, they have processes inside, however you want to define them, that sometimes will cause a barrier for them to look at the problem with a different set of eyes.
And that's a great point, is that especially during economic downturns, the first thing that they cut is R&D, because you don't know how much money you're going to shuck into this R&D pool if you're going to get anything out of it. I mean, you could spend $100K and never get a result out of it. Whereas a competition like this, if we say, well, you didn't get a solution, you don't pay anybody.
Absolutely. No,
wow,
it's such a unique
pretty
solution.
Interesting,
it is very unique. How long has this been up and running for now?
We launched back in March, and it was a soft launch, so we're basically getting feedback. It was a beta launch, and we're updating and upgrading the website as we speak. And we're getting ready for a competition come August, September.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about your background, because like I said, you're an engineer by trade, and you couldn't be confined, is what I'm sensing. And so tell us about your story and what led you to saying I need to build PiMios.
Well, I went through college, studying my life away for math and science and these high level math courses and knowing the stresses and mechanics of metals and how electronics work and how electricity flows and the physics behind all of this stuff. And I mean, between undergraduate and graduate, I spent 8 years in school learning this stuff.
8 years in school.
The very
big chunk of your life.
Right? Wow.
I did physics, I did electrical engineering, I did every aspect of it because I was so genuinely interested in learning how things worked. And I wanted to learn how things worked so I could make them better and I could make cool stuff.
Right.
I loved robotics. I loved airplanes. I loved doing all of that stuff. Then you leave college, you go into the corporate world. You take the money and you get a comfy desk job, and it's Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. and not that there's anything wrong with the software, but that's not what I studied 8 years of my life away for. I didn't go into triple-digit debt to sit at a desk and, input. And I found myself, spending my paychecks on building stuff and building robots, things that blew up.
Right.
I wasted a lot of money blowing stuff up. And there were many more people like me. And when I discovered open source hardware, something that lowered the barrier to entry for people like me, something that 10 years ago I would have had to spend thousands of dollars to get microcontrollers in my hand, microcontrollers that can do literally anything that you can think of to program them to. They can do anything. Nothing is impossible. Now it costs $30 or $50 with open source hardware.
That's amazing.
So you think, this is a disruptive model. In terms of, the thing that's really interesting is you're saying just throw money and help us look at the problem in a very different way. It'll cost you a lot less money. And if we don't produce anything, don't pay us?
Exactly. And it's not just throwing money, because that's basically what R&D is. It's a gamble.
No, I know. I'm just trying to restate it for people who are listening so that they understand that you're saying not only has the world changed, and not only do people like me might not want to work in those kinds of environments, but I'm going to help you with your products by putting different lenses on it from users, right? From
exactly.
Users across a hacker community or a maker community or an engineering community.
And if you look at it from an industry standpoint, you have the General Electrics of the world, you have the Westinghouses, you have the MSAs. all of these different companies have their own silo of engineers. GE's engineers are not going to solve Westinghouse's problems and vice versa. But what if there was a way that you could tap into that engineering talent without stepping on anybody's toes, without doing, performing unethical, illegal activity and things like that. You access them during their downtime, during their recreational time, during their free time, things that they would be doing anyway.
Exactly.
Well, I think that you being able to create this kind of groundswell and opportunity for a wide array of people is really very interesting.
Amazing. Yeah.
I think it's very interesting, and I think with the world of open source, and that means also in terms of people, that's could be really, really a big game changer. I think the biggest secret will be all of you are listening out here. Here's a guy that thinks he can take a chance on him. Take a chance with something
Absolutely.
that's been broken and you can't find a way to solve it. Let him see. So my hat's off to you.
Yeah. If people want to join this army, be part of this movement,
Army of engineers.
how can they contact you? Where can they go?
PiMios.com.
Simple as that, man. Even I could join it, maybe. No, I'm not an engineer, but I could go to the site and check it out.
Well, education's a big part of it. We want to bring people into this community
fold, yeah.
who don't know about it and want to learn more about it. I mean, it's education is the very first part, which is another part of what we're doing. I'm in the middle.
Don't be bashful. Break the barriers
Exactly.
down, right? Very cool. Nick, thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. Very cool stuff. Got to wrap the show up, man. I can't believe it. Another TechVibe radio under the belt. It's like,
That's great.
Man.
That's great. Very exciting.
Very energizing to get to talk to guys like Nick about what they're doing. And Pittsburgh is home base for this stuff. Got to dig it.
Great.
Anyhow,
All right.
we're
Well,
going to
stay tuned.
Absolutely.
Come back.
back
Don't go away until next Saturday.
at noon here on
All right.
FM News Talk 104.7. This is Jonathan Kirsting
And this is Audrey Russo.
from the Pittsburgh Technology Council. Learn more about us at pghtech.org.